George Orwell's 1984 is one of the most influential novels of the 20th century. A dark and unsettling story that imagines a world where freedom, individuality, and truth itself have been erased by an all-controlling totalitarian state. When I think about the impact of this book, it's not just a storiette. Feels like a chilling warning about what can happen if power, surveillance, and manipulation are allowed to dominate society. So let me take you through the story in detail, almost as if we're walking side by side with the main character. Winston Smith, through the oppressive and terrifying world of 1984. The novel begins in Airstrip 1, formerly known as Britain, which is now just one province of a massive superstate called Oceania. The year is, of course, 1984, and the world is divided into three totalitarian superpowers: Eurasia and Eastasia. These three empires are constantly at war with each other, though the enemy shifts from time to time. The important thing is not who the enemy is, but that there is always an enemy. Because the government of Oceania, known simply as the Party, uses war as a way to keep its people united, obedient, and distracted from their miserable lives. At the top of this terrifying hierarchy is Big Brother, the figurehead of the party. His face is everywhere, on posters, telescreens, and even painted on the sides of buildings. The slogan "Big Brother is watching you" hangs over everyone like a shadow. Nobody knows if Big Brother is a real person or just a symbol, but to the people of Oceania, it doesn't matter. He is treated like a god, a father, and a judge all at once. His image is designed to remind every citizen that they are under constant surveillance, that they can never escape the party's watchful eye. This is the world Winston Smith lives in. Winston is a quiet, fragile man in his late 30s, with a varicose ulcer on his leg and a worn, defeated air about him. He works at the Ministry of Truth, one of the four main government ministries that make up the state. Despite its name, the Ministry of Truth is actually dedicated to lies. Winston's job is to alter historical records, newspapers, and documents so that they always match the current party line. If the party says they have always been at war with Eastasia, Winston goes back into the archives and rewrites the past so that the records prove it. If Big Brother makes a prediction about production numbers and it turns out to be wrong, Winston changes the numbers so that Big Brother appears to be infallible. In other words, Winston's entire job is to destroy reality and replace it with whatever the party wants people to believe. This is where the concept of doublethink comes in. Holding two contradictory beliefs at the same time and accepting both as true. For example, the party's three slogans are: war is peace, freedom is slavery, ignorance is strength. It sounds absurd, but in Oceania, the absurd becomes normal. People learn to accept contradictions because refusing to do so could get you killed. Independent thought is called Thoughtcrime, and it's considered the worst offense possible. Even thinking about opposing the party is punishable by torture and death. Despite living in this suffocating world, Winston feels a spark of rebellion deep inside. He knows something is terribly wrong. He secretly hates the party and dreams of truth and freedom. One day, in his small, shabby apartment, he begins to write in a forbidden diary. Just opening the diary is an act of rebellion. The thought police catch him. He could be executed. In the diary, he scrawls the words, "Down with Big Brother." The act of writing it fills him with both terror and relief. For the first time, he is doing something that asserts his individuality, but Winston is constantly afraid of being discovered. His apartment, like every citizen's, has a telescreen, a device that both transmits propaganda and monitors citizens. It can't be turned off completely, and Winston knows he's always being watched. Still, he continues writing in secret, because deep down he refuses to surrender entirely. Winston's life changes when he meets a young woman named Julia. Julia works in the fiction department at the Ministry of Truth. And at first, Winston distrusts her. He thinks she might be a spy, a member of the Junior Anti-Sex League, an organization that promotes chastity and loyalty to the party. But then one day, she secretly slips him a note that says, simply, "I love you." This is the beginning of their forbidden love affair. In Oceania, personal relationships are discouraged, and love itself is seen as dangerous. The party wants to eliminate all deep human bonds except loyalty to Big Brother. Even marriages are arranged not for love, but for the purpose of producing children loyal to the party. Julia and Winston's relationship, then, is not just romantic, it's revolutionary. By loving each other, they are claiming a piece of their humanity that the party cannot control. The two find ways to secretly meet, first in public places and later in a small rented room above a shop owned by an old man named Mr. Charrington. This room becomes their safe haven, a small corner of the world where they can pretend they are free, where they can laugh, talk, and simply be themselves. For Winston, this is the happiest period of his life. For the first time, he feels alive, and he begins to believe that maybe rebellion is possible. During this time, Winston also becomes interested in a mysterious figure named O'Brien. O'Brien is an inner party member, a man with great authority, but Winston feels he can sense a kind of rebellion beneath his calm, powerful exterior. Winston dreams that O'Brien will one day approach him and reveal that he, too, is against the party. Eventually, Winston's dream seems to come true. O'Brien invites him and Julia to his home, where he turns off his telescreen, a privilege only inner party members have, and tells them about a secret resistance movement called the Brotherhood, supposedly led by the party's greatest enemy, Emmanuel Goldstein. Goldstein is portrayed by the party as the ultimate traitor, the embodiment of evil. Every day, citizens are required to watch the 2 Minutes Hate, a broadcast that shows Goldstein ranting against the party. The people scream, throw things at the screen, and work themselves into a frenzy of hatred. But to Winston, Goldstein represents the possibility of another world, a hope that the party is not invincible. O'Brien gives Winston a copy of Goldstein's book, a forbidden text that explains how the party maintains power. The book reveals the grim truth. The endless war is not fought to be won, but to keep the population under control. The party uses war to consume resources and to maintain a constant state of fear, ensuring that people never question the system. The party doesn't care about wealth or comfort. It only cares about power. Power for its own sake. Winston reads the book with awe, feeling as though the mysteries of the world are finally being revealed to him. But his sense of triumph doesn't last long. One day, Winston and Julia are suddenly arrested. Their safe haven, the room above the shop, was a trap all along. Mr. Charrington, the kindly old shopkeeper, is revealed to be a member of the Thought Police. The telescreen hidden behind a painting has been recording everything. Their rebellion was doomed from the start. Winston is taken to the Ministry of Love, a place that is ironically named because it is where the party carries out torture and brainwashing. Here, he is confronted by O'Brien, who reveals the ultimate betrayal. O'Brien was never part of the resistance. He was working for the party the entire time. The Brotherhood may not even exist, could simply be another invention of the party to lure out would-be rebels. What follows is a long, horrifying process of torture. O'Brien subjects Winston to physical pain, but even worse, he attacks Winston's mind. He tells Winston that reality is whatever the party says it is. If the party says 2 + 2 = 5, then that is the truth. Winston resists at first, insisting that there is an external reality that cannot be changed. But O'Brien crushes this resistance. He explains that the party doesn't just want obedience, you want complete control over the human mind. It wants to eliminate the very concept of independent thought, so that people are incapable of even imagining freedom. The final stage of Winston's torture takes place in the dreaded room 101, where prisoners are forced to confront their worst fears. For Winston, that fear is rats. O'Brien straps a cage of starving rats to Winston's face, ready to let them tear him apart. In his terror, Winston betrays Julia, screaming, "Do it to her, not me." In that moment, the party breaks him completely. His love for Julia, the one thing that made him human, is destroyed. After this, Winston is released back into society, but he is no longer the same man. He sees Julia again once, but their relationship is hollow. They both confess that they betrayed each other, and the love that once bound them has been replaced by cold emptiness. Winston spends his days drinking gin in a cafe, his spirit crushed. He no longer dreams of rebellion. In the final scene of the novel, Winston sits at a table, watching a news bulletin that praises Big Brother. Tears of joy fill his eyes as he realizes that he has finally learned to love Big Brother. This is the party's ultimate victory, not just controlling what people do, but controlling what they think, what they feel, and even what they love. Winston Smith, once a symbol of resistance, has been completely erased. 1984 ends on this bleak and haunting note. Orwell shows us a world where truth, freedom, and individuality are not just suppressed, but systematically destroyed. It's not just a story about one man's downfall, it's a warning about the dangers of unchecked power, propaganda, and surveillance. The novel asks us to reflect on our own societies and to consider how fragile freedom really is, and how easily it can be taken away. Even though the book was written in 1949, its relevance has only grown. Words like Big Brother, doublethink, and Thoughtcrime have entered our language. Because Orwell captured something universal about the human struggle against oppression. Reading 1984 is uncomfortable, even painful, but it's also necessary because it reminds us of the importance of truth, freedom, and the courage to think for ourselves.